Welcome into a brand new edition of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Desmond Johnson, Jonathan Stewart in the house. Schuyler Callihan should be by before the show is over with. It's open mailbag. I'm sure you guys have a lot you want to talk about. The Carolina Panthers falling to the Chicago Bears on Sunday by the score of 36-10. We'll go through what we witnessed on Sunday, our thoughts on that, audio from head coach Dave Canales. We'll go around the league for a little bit. After 5 weeks, who are the best teams in the NFC and the AFC? And, of course, the Panthers hosting the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. We'll give you our keys to victory there. It is time for Bleav in Panthers.
Jonathan Stewart gets in, fights for more yardage. Stewart to the mouth of the goal line. Touchdown!
Wow, that's just pure Stewart right there.
That's a big-time run by Jonathan Stewart.
Welcome to Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Do you believe? Rate and subscribe the show on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Video available weekly at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Do you believe?
And welcome to the Bleav in Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Desmond Johnson and the Panthers' all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart in the house. The Panthers fall to the Chicago Bears on Sunday by the score of 36-10. To be honest, it didn't even feel that close. It just a game that just kind of snowballed out of control in the first half, especially in the second quarter. We'll get into our thoughts on what we witnessed from there. And we'll look into what's forward because I'm going to pull up the injury report in a minute. And that's really the reason why this one's called the one with even more injuries, because I don't know who Evero has to play with on defense at this point. Everyone's like injured, like literally, like it's crazy. The Panthers defense has given up more points in their first 5 games than any Panther defense in Panthers history. So we'll talk about this and what can be done to stop the bleeding. Like Jake Delhomme said on the broadcast this past weekend, nobody's coming to save us. So, it's all hands on deck at this point. Before we get to the meat of the episode today, a quick word from our sponsors at BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. And we'll start with Stu, your thoughts. Watching that game Sunday was hard. Initial thoughts with it. And what do you think that head coach Dave Canales and crew need to do going forward from here as I pull up the injury report, the official injury report?
Gotta pray. Because you're in a very unfortunate situation. We already went into that game banged up, got banged up even more. And you hate to see guys, I think Schuyler said it the last 3 years, is our problem is depth. We're going to have depth issues. I'm not sure what the status is on Corbett. But we were rolling at the offensive line unit, and having a guy like that go down is unfortunate. And so hopefully it's not anything super long term. Hope we get him back soon.
We're not.
We're not. What is it?
He tore his bicep. He's out for the season.
Oh, okay. So news to me.
Yeah.
So that's a big blow. When you lose a game and then you also lose, not just a starter, but, a high caliber, high quality, high character locker room guy. Obviously he's still going to be around the building, but it's different when you're a guy that's injured, and what you can offer the team. Man, that stings.
Yeah, I was just like, oh man, you got to be kidding me when I heard that. That's crazy.
You got Clowney going down. Go through the list of injuries.
Yeah, so Coach Canales went through the ones from just this past game. Austin Corbett, he's out. He has a torn bicep. He's going to undergo surgery. It'll sideline him for the remainder of the season. It'll be his third operation in 2 years. He tore his ACL in 2022 season finale. People remember against the Saints, and then he tore his MCL in 2023 after 4 games. And it's his left bicep. Brady Christensen's going to, I believe, replace him at center. So he'll be in there. Taylor Moton got injured in the game. He is not going to play in week 6. He had played in all 120 games of his NFL career since the 2017 draft. He had started in 104 consecutive games. He has already been ruled out against the Falcons. Josh Ninjaman will start in his place at right tackle. He has a triceps injury. Canales just said there's a big window in terms of when he may return. Who else got hurt? Xavier Legette got hurt in the game with a shoulder injury. So did Javion Clowney. They're both day-to-day. Going into the matchup with the Falcons. Tommy Tremble, the tight end, he got placed in concussion protocol on a hit that actually caused a fumble. So he's in protocol, so we don't know when he'll be out. Rookie center Andrew Rame, he missed Sunday's game. He's in the league concussion protocol also. Some updates on Jonathan Brooks, who was already on IR. Dane Jackson. He said they're both close to returning to the practice field, but again, Stu, I'm trying to pull up the full list of Panthers that are out. Matter of fact, let me pull this part up here, because not counting the guys I just mentioned, which were just updated on Monday morning during Canales' press conference. If I scroll through the list of players that are out, Josie Jewell, he missed Sunday. He's got a hamstring groin injury. Shaq is out for the season with an Achilles. He's already had surgery. Deontay Johnson's nursing an ankle. Robert Hunt's got a hip injury going on. He's questionable. Shy Tuttle didn't play last week. He's got a foot. Damian Lewis has been dealing with an elbow for the past couple of weeks. I mean, at some point, you just kind of got to laugh at some of this. Like Ian Thomas has a calf. Dane Jackson's been out with the hamstring. Miles Sanders has some kind of illness. Jaden Coker's dealing with a foot. Tommy Tremble, we talked about that. He came into the game with a knee injury. He's got a concussion now. And it's just literally, I think out of the defense, the starting defense from week 1, I think Evero has like 2 of those guys left, I think, from week 1 that isn't on the field. And you've lost like Shaq, you've lost Derek Brown, you've lost.
Yeah, you've lost a ton of guys.
So what do you do? What do you do in this situation?
Well, this is where you start developing. I hate to say it. You develop and you don't have the mindset of, oh, we're going to lose, right?
Right.
Obviously, this is, the chances of you winning, start to go in the wrong direction. But it does require guys to, take it upon themselves to put on film, put on, why they're there, why they are in that locker room. You're going to see a lot of guys. You're going to see a lot of mistakes. You're going to see, some football that, no one not necessarily wants to see, because it's just that time.
Mm.
You're going to have younger guys in there with less experience, and we're going to see, how well, this team is rostered. And the thing is, I don't think it's something that we should look at and judge Dan Morgan on, right? I think this is where we can't have this lens of, oh, what is the coaching staff doing? They can't really do anything. Their hands are kind of tied.
Yeah. Yeah. You're in week, 6 now? Like, I mean,
week 6 is kind of around that time where you start to get some of these injuries to take fold. And, and we knew going into this, the depth was going to be an issue for us. But now it's no excuses, right? If you're in that locker room, you're a pro. You have to, play the hand that you're dealt. And right now, you're dealt a hand of an opportunity. I know we've been talking about opportunities for younger guys for the last 7-6 years and whatnot, because there's been a lot of injuries that have taken place for the Panthers. There's been ups and downs for the Panthers in the season. So I think you just look at the bright spots and you build around the bright spots. You build around the gold nuggets, right? So it's like when you're, Jim Zoki had a really good analogy where, when you're, searching for gold, right? And you got the little tray and you're in the water and you're shaking the tray and little nuggets start appearing amongst the mud and amongst the rocks and all that. And once you start collecting those little nuggets, eventually you start finding some value. Trevin Wallace, that's a bright spot.
That was a bright spot. Third round pick.
Chuba Hubbard, bright spot.
Dog.
I mean, I saw a stat line of Chuba Hubbard of his success rate as a runner. He has the highest success rate in the league right now, 67.6 success rate, meaning every time he touches the ball, 67% of the time he's gonna have success.
Seems like he's getting 7 yards every time he touches it lately. Like he's been run with purpose. And then they went away from him on Sunday before it really got out of hand. And I know that second quarter, the Bears dropped like 20 points on us, and we couldn't do anything. So I kind of get it, in terms of why they had to go away from him. But
it's still kind of one of those things where you remember seeing Coach Wilkes. He went into a game and said, "We're going to run the ball,
right?
Because that's what we're good at. That's what we're good at, and that's what we have to do to give ourselves a chance." And I think sometimes, when teams start scoring at a high rate, you kind of go into your bag a little bit because you want to, compete with that, right? So, but it's a little bit of a gray area, knowing that your defense is struggling, right? Going into the game, you don't want your defense to be on the field as often. So the counter of that is to basically run the ball a little bit more. And we were doing it really well. I mean, I think it was a third series where Chuba picked up 5 yards and then he picked up 6 yards and it was a first down and then they just didn't run the ball anymore. I'm like, wait, that's a good thing. It's a good part of the DNA. Like, because at the end of the day, if you can wear a defense down just a little bit, you give yourself a chance, right? And we didn't get it. We didn't let, I think, a strong point of our offense do what he was intended to do, which is wear down guys.
Yeah, and that's
13 carries, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. 97 yards. I mean, you saw Ashton Jeanty, his stats, college running back from Boise State. You ain't seen what? No. Well, he's the Heisman front runner.
What did he do? What's his name?
Ashton Jeanty.
Oh, he popped right up. Hold on.
Yeah, wait till you read and start reading. Whatever you read is gonna say something about 1,000 yards in 5 games.
Hold on, I'm pulling up ESPN now. So, Boise State running back.
He has something like 1,000 yards before he had 100 carries.
Hold on, wait a minute here.
It's like my stat line my freshman year in high school.
Yeah, he's had 95 carries for 1,031 yards. He's averaging 10.9 yards a carry. He's got 16 touchdowns in 5 games.
Yep.
What?
That's him.
What is going on? Boise State is the guy. Too. So yeah, they got him listed in this Heisman Trophy count. So it does look like I'm gonna pull back up the box score here because it did feel like it was one of those games where every once in a while we'll get in a game where you kind of sense it early that we just don't have enough ammunition like to do this. And it felt that way on defense in particular because I went and looked at Caleb Williams' stats from week 1 to Sunday, and he's gotten better every week. And then so he was due to have this kind of explosive game, and then to match up against a beat up defense that's on the road. They're coming in Chicago. The Panthers gave up 424 yards, 300 yards passing. I know Caleb Williams threw for 304, I think. Rushing yards, gave up $128, 6.1 yards per play. That's just not gonna equate to a lot of wins. 24 first downs the Bears had. It wasn't so much lopsided time of possession or anything like that.
This is what it was. It was efficiency, right?
Yeah.
When you have a quarterback such as Caleb Williams sitting in the pocket for 3.4 something seconds,
too long.
That's a problem.
Yeah, way too
long.
We
had no pressure on Caleb Williams. And we saw what no pressure does for Andy Dalton, for any quarterback, right?
Mhm.
When you don't have pressure in your face straight from the jump, you can make sound decisions and you can get the ball out quicker. You can do all those types of things. But when you're getting pressure up the middle and you have to escape the pocket and just kind of get rid of the ball on the go, you get the performance that we had on Sunday.
On the reverse, Dalton was running for his life for most. Well, not running for his life. He was getting sacked. It felt like.
Yeah. He had two. They had 2 sacks, and he avoided a lot, but he was pressured basically throughout the whole entire time when he was dropping back.
Yeah.
You know, I would argue that, you know, a way to combat that is to get him in the center.
Yeah, there's a lot of shotgun, not just with us, but around the league. It feels like there's a whole lot of spread pistol kind of shotgun type offenses, and you rarely see a team with a quarterback under center more often than not nowadays. It's all spread out for space and stuff. But I agree with you. Yeah, sometimes get out of that. You know, we said that about Bryce, that we need him under center a little bit more than what they were actually doing. Same with Andy to this point. And now you're going to be missing your center with Corbett out. Luckily, Brady Christian's played center. He's been moved around the line over the past couple of years since we drafted him. So he's kind of a plug and play kind of guy. But still, we were talking about the continuity of the offensive line, all of them playing together through these games being so important. And now you're starting to miss pieces there. And the defensive line, you've been missing your interior for the past couple of weeks with Brown being out and Tuttle being out. And it just equaled out to they couldn't stop the run. It felt like they just couldn't get off the field. They didn't have a huge day in the run game. Again, they only had 128 yards rushing, but still was enough to keep the chains moving. And I gotta admit, I was not on the Caleb Williams train in terms of believing that he was as good as advertised. He had a couple plays on Sunday, some scramble plays out of the pocket where I was like, oh, okay, I kind of see.
Yeah, his escapability and not being able to like really hone in on what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, is he about to throw it? Or he's gonna run it? No, he's
that one where he was in the grass like 2 or 3 times and he just kind of kept doing the thing, and then he converted it too. And I was just like, oh, it was like the capsule of the day. Like that kind of summed up the day for me. I'm like, this just ain't our day. It ain't our day. And then you got to sit there and kind of get through the rest of the game and watch the whole thing. And it got to a point where do we want to address the fight at the end of the game? Like, is that something that needs to be addressed?
I mean, it doesn't need to be addressed. I think it's just, you know, a tale of getting your butt kicked and
just
not really not really having any answers, and you're just frustrated because you're coming off of a couple of weeks of progress, and you get into this game, you get into this situation, and you got an uphill battle now. So it's just frustrating. Obviously, it's uncalled for. You don't want to ever put yourself in that situation of, you know, creating, a bad environment, or just a bad look. I mean, it's a bad look when you're getting beat and here you are trying to pick a fight, right? So, it's not as bad as what we saw the Alabama kid do when they lost to Villanova or whatever Vanderbilt.
That was crazy.
That was wild. That was wild. I'm like, hey, bud, you are showing that you're competitive or that you're a baby. Which one is it?
Shout out to the Vanderbilt students who carried that goalpost like 5 miles from
that's
the football field to the river.
Kids had a time of their life that night.
The cops were like
go ahead,
going with them.
Let's do it. Let's do it safe.
No, it was like
drink. If you're gonna drink responsibly.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on you. It was crazy because I think 4 of the teams in the top 11 lost to unranked teams this past weekend, which was crazy. And then. Actually, I just saw this come across. There's just all kinds of stuff going on this morning. Breaking news: the New York Jets have just fired head coach Robert Saleh. It was a surprise to him. Defensive players apparently in the building are shocked by it. Interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich is going to take over. The Jets are 2-3, and I Bleav they have scored the same amount of points as they did last year at this point without Aaron Rodgers. So Saleh doesn't last more than 5 games into the season with Aaron Rodgers. That seems like
that's interesting because is he not a defensive coach?
He is. Yeah. He came from the 49ers, remember?
Yeah, and so they got rid of the defensive guy that's,
Yeah.
have they been getting scored on or what? Like,
I think the offense has been sputtering, and I think that's part of the reason why they're not keeping him
Yeah, I
around.
mean, their average, they had scored 19, 24, 24, 9, 17.
They've got some weapons.
Sounds like a person or two, or maybe just one individual made a request and said, "Hey, if you guys want me to be here any longer, you need to make some adjustments."
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, it's the Jets, though. So we were in the preseason. We were like, I don't know if we trust the Jets enough yet. And that's
interesting to see if they get Devontae Adams now.
Ooh, that's been rumored too.
So if they get Devontae Adams now, maybe Robert was not in favor of Devontae Adams, and
maybe so. It is open. It is open mailbag.
Yeah,
it is open mailbag here in Bleav in Panthers, and I know a lot of you guys have left to vent. Jack Jose says Panthers need to keep running the offense through Chuba. Also, Jonathan Vilma needs to be banned from the broadcast booth for Panthers game. He was kind of tripping. He called our coach Alex Canales, I think, or something like that, and just he didn't know the names of players. But he's a former Saint, and I've noticed whenever he calls our games, there's a little bit of disdain towards the Panthers whenever he's calling them. He tries to hide it, but I'm like, nah, Vilma, we know.
They should hire me to. They should hire me to call these games.
They should.
For the Saints games.
Man,
hey, what's his name? Alvin. No, I won't mess with Alvin.
No,
that's a dog.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of any other bright spots from the game. Not really. It was one of those kind of flush it, let's move on to next week type games. They are hosting the Atlanta Falcons this Sunday.
I will say Jalen Coker.
Yes.
Coker was on point. You know, that was his first game, you know, as a rookie. And like I think I saw something as far as PFF ranking or status. He was right up there with the top 5 rookies, you know, in his game, in his first game out as a Panther, as a professional athlete. And he delivered. You know, that's what I'm saying as far as these young guys. It's not an excuse that you don't have the experience. You're on the team. And Jalen Coker went out there and basically made it a point to make the best of his situation. You know, everybody he caught. You know, he had 5 targets, caught 4 balls, over 60 yards. But you know, I think I think Steve Smith said early on that he was one of the better route runners in this class, and he was undrafted.
Yeah, he was very high on. Yeah,
and then you take that, and he's a hard worker. He's a hard worker, obviously, to get to where he is now. But what I was really pleased to see was what he was doing after he caught the ball. I mean, it was like I think his yak was 7.8, 7 something. And when you have a guy that's capable of catching the ball across the middle, be unfazed by the hit, and get yards after the catch, that's huge. So I think we can't ignore his play. I want to see him get the ball more. Maybe we have a Puka in our hands, and we just need to see if he can, create more opportunities for himself.
Because honestly, you hit it right there, because that's kind of where the season's starting to head, where it's like, okay, what's on this roster? Like, let's evaluate what we have, because we knew kind of going into the season the defense wasn't going to be as strong. I mean, you lose a Brian Burns, you lose a Frankie Luvu, you lose a Dante Jackson. Those aren't just like good players; they're like leaders in the locker room. Like, and all of a sudden they're not there anymore, and you're like, okay, who are the guys to step up? Then you lose a Derek Brown after week 2 for the whole season or whatnot, and like you just Shaq Thompson early. Like you're not just losing guys that are on the defense, you're losing like the leaders of the defense, and like they're not in the room anymore. So who do you follow? And it's like, I think J.C. Horn's starting to step up as a leader, excusing the fight at the end of the game.
I just think that's just one of those things where obviously it's not okay, but it's just the nature of the game. Like you're frustrated, you're competitive, and you just want to win. Yeah. So I don't think we should spend too much time on it.
And we won't. But I do think JC has become a leader of this defense, and he's one of the few vets that are still left that are able to be out there to play. So on the other hand, offensively, they did get away from the run pretty quickly, but a lot of that had to do with the 20-0 second quarter that the Bears dropped on them that just kind of it kind of pushed that game out to a point where it's like, okay, well, we can't run the ball, 30 times anymore or whatever. We got to kind of try to catch up in this. Andy was just flustered all game. And I know eventually someone will probably mention it. Of course, we saw Bryce at the end of the game. There was some national pundits kind of going back and forth on what Coach Canales said about how he brought him in, all this stuff. I knew what he meant. Like what he said was basically he wanted to get Andy out because some of the offensive line was banged up. That, of course, is going to put your second string guy in, which is Bryce Young, and they wanted to give Bryce a chance to get out there and see some live action, which is what they did. And he did, for his part, looked a little better than the last time we saw him in terms of being a little bit more calmer in the pocket, kind of rolling out. Look at that one pass he had, looked really good. But I'm not, someone was asking him, is Andy going to start next week as if it was a competition? He was like, no, Andy's our quarterback. Like,
this wasn't a game that was lost because of Andy Dalton.
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of people, the ones that are like, so when we were coming down on Bryce and you put Andy in, there were people out there waiting for Andy to have his first real bad game. So they could be the ones that come on and be like, oh, we thought it was all about Bryce or whatever. And that's the ones that I saw on the line really Sunday and Monday. And I'm like, did y'all watch the same game? Because Andy couldn't really get comfortable at all. Like, it wasn't really him. The Bears just had a good defense, and they were at home, and they were riled up, and they won 3 straight. Like, they're getting better. Like, they're a team that's getting better as the season's going on. So it wasn't that much of a surprise that the defense for Chicago was going to be stout. They've been pretty stout all year. So
yeah,
we just ran into a kind of a buzzsaw. And then this was the game the Chicago offense finally kind of found themselves and woke up. And we should have known DJ Moore was going to be looking for a little extra in this game. 2 touchdowns from him, from Caleb Williams. So, I mean, again, it's one of those flush this game down the toilet type games, and let's move on to the Falcons type thing, because I don't know what you're supposed to pull from this to learn from.
But I will say this isn't like the first 2 games of the season where we did lose and we had these frustrations, and I think it's because we do have a couple games where we saw our offense come together and put something on the table. This is a Chicago defense that's way better than all the defenses that we faced outside of the Saints, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so that's the reason why I think we have to kind of have a realistic viewpoint of what we saw Sunday. But I will say it's not gonna get any easier. I will say that Atlanta Falcons, if we want to go ahead and jump there, because I feel like, talking about the Chicago game, at the end of the day, it was poor tackling. I mean, Swift had a screen to, a big gain on a screen play where I saw a lot of missed tackles. We weren't all the way bad in the run game, but just wasn't good enough. We didn't get any pressures, which is, a thing that we've been talking about since the beginning of the season. Got guys that go down in injury going into this game, and leaving this game, we have even more injuries to figure out as far as who to plug and play for the next foreseeable future. We have an offense that, just, couldn't handle, certain looks, in the pressures, right? So being able to address those things and analyze and get the reps needed throughout this week will hopefully prepare them for the Falcons.
Should Evero be on the hot seat because of this? Because
no,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Again, it goes down to the kitchen comment, right? Right? Like, the quarterback's in the kitchen. It's hot in the kitchen. It's hard to enjoy what you're doing and do it well when your kitchen ain't got no fan. Okay. And so now we're gonna go to the coaching staff. It's kind of hard to cook lasagna if you ain't got no noodles.
This is why I'm always hungry when we're done with the show. We forever in the kitchen.
and right now you got to figure out how to make the noodles, right? It's from scratch.
Right.
You can make it. The coaching staff can make noodles. Okay. They know how to do it. They've done it all their lives. And the ingredients to make the noodles are right there. Just going to take some time. And they have to figure out, which one's going to work and which one's not.
See, the problem is, and we're patient enough to see it through, but the problem is, I think a large majority of Panther Nation is we've been waiting for 6 years or really longer than that, longer than that, where we're just like, we just want to see competent football. And like the past 2 weeks, we felt like we were starting to see it. And then you get this game where it's like it punches you in the gut. Like it reminds you, like, oh wait, we were 2-15 last year. Like this is a rebuild. This ain't a condo. This is a rebuild. Like we're gonna go through weeks like this where nobody's gonna come save us, like Jake Delhomme said.
Nope.
It's just us. And to be honest, the national media, they're already calling us the worst team in the league. Like they were on that before week 1. Like they were already.
I can't buy that. We are not the worst team in the NFL. We're not even the worst organization in the NFL. You know who the worst organization in the NFL is right now?
Who do you think?
The Cleveland Browns.
Ooh.
Absolutely, the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh,
whatever I saw on Sunday out of Deshaun Watson and staff, like. And I'm not going to go all the way in on Deshaun Watson because he's still a human.
Right.
And he's endured a lot, whether it's been self-inflicted or not, as far as the things off the field. But when it comes to the things that he's had to endure, physically, to be able to make himself available, he's gone through a lot. The pressures of performing, the pressures of having that money in his bank, and just all the things that have happened over the last several years.
Oh gosh.
It's something that I don't think a lot of people understand, the mental health state, right?
Yeah.
So before everyone goes in on Deshaun Watson and all this stuff, like tread lightly, because he's got to be going through something, right?
The Browns still owe him like $96 million guaranteed, and they're sitting there talking about benching him. Like that's how poor his play has been. They're 1-4 in a division, to be honest, that could have been theirs if they'd gotten off on the right foot. Because it's still kind of bunched up. And actually, I was going to head there in terms of we're 5 weeks into the season. We're kind of starting to get a bearing on some teams. There's always one team every year, Stu, where nobody picked them to get out the gate the way they did, and everyone's still kind of scratching their heads at them. That's the Minnesota Vikings right now in the NFC. I'll get down there in a second, but in the AFC,
I'll give you two teams.
Falcons are what, 3-2? Oh, the Commanders.
Giving you the Washington Commanders.
The Commanders, yeah, the Commanders 4-1.
Jaden Daniels is a problem. Oh my gosh!
I saw they have more. They have in the past couple of games, they have more touchdowns than incompletions or something nuts. Like, and I can't watch them because we always get the Panthers here in this area, and usually the Commanders are playing around the same time, and I don't have like Sunday ticket or anything like that. So I haven't seen him play yet, but they're 2-0 at home. They're 2-1 on the road. The Commanders are surprised that the Cowboys, they're trying to figure things out after that rainy Sunday night game versus Pittsburgh on Sunday night. In the AFC, we were saying who's the best teams in the AFC and the NFC, and you guys can put your comments down in the comment section below. Of course, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 5-0.
After I saw the Chiefs this past last night,
yeah,
the Chiefs are back.
Yeah,
they win in the Super Bowl. Everybody, surprise!
We told y'all back in July. What are we even doing with the season? It's going to be the Chiefs. They haven't figured stuff out yet,
and it's not because Patrick Mahomes is doing anything crazy. It's just because they figure out how to win games in different ways.
Andy Reid, man. Andy Reid's going to go down in history as one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not already. Like if he retired at the end of this year.
And their defense is
Spagnuolo. That defense from last year to
just
now
been putting on like consistent.
They've been the backbone, really. And keep an eye on the Baltimore Ravens. They put away that game in overtime Sunday. Derrick Henry put that game away with that run at the end in overtime. I think they've won 3 straight. Their 2 losses were to, again, opening night, Thursday night to the Chiefs by a toenail, literally, on the last play of the game. And then they lost on the last second field goal to the Raiders at home. Other than that, I think they might have one of the scariest offenses in football when they're clicking with Lamar and Derrick Henry back there.
Derrick Henry. Yeah, the way they closed that game out. The way they closed that game out was in Baltimore Raven form.
Yes, that's the.
This was like, hey, Derek, we're gonna give you the ball. Just go down there and get in field goal position.
Man, he hit that corner. He hit that corner. I was like, oh, nobody's gonna catch. And then he juked that one last dude before somebody tripped him up at the end. I was like, oh my god, Derrick Henry. He looks like he's in his prime. Like, why in the world did the Titans let this dude get out of their hands? And
because they knew they couldn't deliver him a Super Bowl opportunity. So
Yeah.
they did what was right for him. Hopefully
1-3. Will Levis led the Titans. The only other team that really stands out, honestly, the Bills started off hot. They've dropped a couple since then.
Yeah, they need They need another receiver.
Yeah, they're missing Stephon Diggs now. And I don't think they thought they were going
to. Stephon Diggs in the paper for the wrong reason right now.
I saw something was going on with him. I don't know if I'll go near that.
I don't want to go in that.
No,
just know that it was foul.
Now you're gonna make me want to go look it up. The Texans are.
If this ever happened to any man, I can only imagine how upset they would be. But are you reading it?
I'm gonna go. You got me.
Well, for all of y'all that don't know, go read it. We ain't gonna really talk about it. We're just gonna be real.
Oh, whoa, wait.
Whoa, hey.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Whoa. I don't know if I want to bring that up on this show. Just go to if y'all are interested, just go to
just Google his name.
Yeah. I'm not gonna get to that.
Cincinnati Bengals.
The Texans are 4-1, but they've given up more points than they've scored. The Bengals are 1-4.
The Cincinnati Bengals their season's going to be over if they don't win the next two games.
And Joe Burrow might be playing the best quarterback play in the whole league, which is weird. He's like 70%.
Off the chain. And the Bengals are experiencing some injuries, right? So yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you, like, you can have, the right ingredients in a lot of places, but if that depth ain't there, like, shout out to Schuyler. That's been his MO.
And we've ignored him for 2 off seasons now. We're like, nah, don't worry about that. We'll be good to go. And then by like week 3, we're like, man, like all of our people are hurt. Like, what are we supposed to be evaluating? The Vikings are 5-0 and the only undefeated team in the NFC.
Yeah, I'll tell you who the most valuable player for the 49ers is.
Who's that?
Christian McCaffrey.
Remember a couple weeks ago when we were naming running backs? When you were talking about how Chuba was a top 10 or top 5 running back. How would we leave Christian McCaffrey off that list?
Well, it's only because at the moment, because he's not playing.
Yeah.
Once he's obviously he's the best. Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the National Football League. Boom.
Agreed.
Stated. Yeah. Number one. Like, you can argue Saquon, Derrick Henry.
I'd take Christian just for everything he does. Yeah.
No, I'm saying as far as next.
Oh, yeah. I'd probably put Derrick Henry number 2 right now.
Yeah.
And then Saquon, Kamara when he's on the field. Who else? I do think you're right about Chuba being a top 10 back. I mean, the numbers are proving themselves. The past 3-4 weeks, he's averaging like 6-7 yards a carry. They're just not giving the ball enough. There was some others too, but yeah, when you made the point, I think me and Schuyler both kind of opened our eyes a little bit. Then I started thinking about it, and then I went back and rewatched the episode. I'm like, why did we not mention Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah, it's only because it's like engraved, like a statue.
It's almost like we had him above the list. Like we weren't even including him on the list. He's just kind of like
it's like we RB1.
Yeah, we know about that dude. Other than the Vikings, which just looks weird being 5-0, but to be honest, it shouldn't be. They've scored 63 more points than they've allowed.
They've been balling.
They're just killing it, and they're that team. They remind me of the 2015 Carolina Panthers, where nobody saw y'all coming out the gate. You start off red hot. You start stringing together these convincing victories, and like the national media is very slow to get on the boat of this is a good team. All they're doing right now in Minnesota is they're waiting for Minnesota to mess up so they can kind of be like, see what we told you, Minnesota's not going to be that good. And Minnesota is just kind of doing their defense is insane. And Sam Darnold, man, is cooking. Like,
quarterback coach over there. I'm pretty sure he's got his hands in, the jar. And Aaron Donald is just, I saw him this offseason and just talking to him, he just had this confidence about him. And I was like, oh, this boy.
Sam, yeah.
Yeah, when he gets his opportunity, he's about to really let it go.
I mean, you come to work every day, you see Justin Jefferson as one of your targets. It's like,
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
I get to
Make
go
this happen.
I get to go play catch with Justin Jefferson.
All right, let's do this. So
Yeah.
Sam, people forget too. Sam Darnold is 27 years old. Like he may be the starter at Minnesota for a good bit because they were already going to
next
start.
5 years for sure.
Yeah, they were going to start JJ McCarthy. They went traded up and got him in the draft. And
that ain't it.
That ain't it. That is not it. Sam might be there for a minute. Don't forget about the Lions though. They're right behind them at 3-1. And they were our darling pick coming out of the division. The Packers got Jordan Love back. We saw what the Bears just did to us. So I mean, the NFC North they're there. And then you got our division, the South. We got the Falcons coming up. They're leading the division, but they've had more points scored against them than what they've scored. So I always look at that and think, okay, they've been a bunch of close games that could have went either way. The Bucs are 3-2. The Saints are 2-3, and then us at 1-4. And again, it's a negative 82 in terms of net points scored and points allowed. Again, I said at the top of the episode, the Panthers have allowed more points in their first 5 games than any Panther team in history. So this is like a historically bad Panthers defense. But if you're watching the games, you understand why. Like, they don't have any players. They don't have anybody out there that they expected to have at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you're missing your best player on the roster, and Derek Brown.
You're missing Derek Brown. You're missing leaders. There. Shaq Thompson. Like, you're missing all these guys that would normally be out there to kind of calm the ship or whatever. They're not there. So I don't know what to expect from the Panthers defense. This is going to really be either the highlight or the low light of Ejiro Evero's coaching career this year. And through no fault of his own. It's just this is the deal, the deck that was handed to him. And we'll see what he can do. Spence 22 says, with all the injuries we have and lack of depth, we probably won't see complimentary football for the rest of the season. I think some of that just has to do with whoever we're playing against. The schedule gets harder. I know our bye's coming up here soon. And then I think we're hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, like the first game back. And then I think it's Dallas, like right after that. So Panthers and Jets fans are going to lose it if Darnold wins the Super Bowl. Yeah, probably. Lynn says Commander's second best team in the NFC. Is that accurate? Is it Minnesota and then Washington right now?
I think it's Minnesota, Washington. They're the most convincing teams.
The records don't lie.
To me, in the entire like NFL, in my opinion, the most convincing. Because they just have been winning games without any like question.
Right. That's what I'm saying. How they 2015 Carolina, because it got to the point where you guys were just kind of winning games, or like even if you were behind, there was a sense of they're going to figure it out and win this game before it's over. And you guys were like literally like all year. And Minnesota feels like that, like they've hit kind of some kind of lightning in a bottle. No one is surprised the Chiefs are 5-0. Like no one. Right. No one is surprised that that's going on. Everyone's surprised that Minnesota is 5-0. So we'll keep an eye on that too. But going, I mean,
it's the defensive side of things for the Carolina Panthers. If they can really hone in and just figure out a way to get off the field on third downs, would be huge. And it's going to require guys to just step up and make plays, secondary. And I think one of the things is Trevin Wallace. I think we can really, really be optimistic with him. Yeah. You know, playing against that Chicago offense, you got to think about this. They have Caleb Williams. They have a decent offensive line. They have Cole Kmet. They have Adunze, who they just drafted. They have Keenan, who they just got this offseason, Keenan Allen. And then they have DJ Moore. So if we really want to talk about what the Panthers experienced on Sunday, they played a really good football team, technically.
They did.
Right?
Yeah.
On paper, you look at that roster a year from now, you're going to say, oh, they have some dudes. So let's not take that away from what we experienced on Sunday. We had a lot of injuries. We had injuries going into it. But if we start getting some guys back, let's not just write the Panthers off. I'm just saying it. I'm just going to put it out there. Get a couple guys back at the right time. And right now you just anchor down and just weather the storm. Like play the best version of football you can play right now, which on offense, just run the ball, play action, keep the defense off the field. Offense, be the best defense that you can be, right? So I just look at I'm looking at the Panthers situation, obviously, from a vantage point that there is a way to win games. And is it going to be hard? Absolutely. Do we make crucial judgments? No. It's just one of those years. Have some grace.
Yeah, and I will say, just from what we've seen from Dave Canales, the opening of the seasoning or whatever, I don't think the team's going to give up or like just kick rocks on the season or anything like that, which gives me hope as a Panther fan to continue to watch and just see some of these. It's a very young team, so to see some of the guys they brought in, Coach Canales was actually asked about potentially getting some players back, and this is what he said Monday during his press conference. Courtesy of CarolinaPanthers.com.
Their way back out there to work and to find that. And we certainly appreciate those guys when they do that.
Do you anticipate opening up DJ or Jonathan Brooks's windows? And what's the latest on Dane and Ian?
Yeah, we're really close there. Dane and Ian both had solid weeks. So this week is really, really crucial for those two guys to get out there to show good movement skills and confidence, just playing football movements, leaning on people, making plays, all that stuff. As you can imagine, the return to play aspect involves everything but like the full speed covering, the full speed blocking and setting edges. And so this is a huge week to evaluate those guys. And I would say DJ and Jonathan are really close. And so we're just obviously, we get excited about guys who can come back and help us, but at the same time, we have to do what's right for the player first and foremost, and then for the team after that. And so it's getting really close.
I'm really interested at this point in seeing Jonathan Brooks because we haven't seen him yet. Like that's kind of where I'm in the season. Like I want to see some of these guys I haven't seen while we still have a bit of an offensive line. I do think the offensive line should be okay with Brady at center. I hope we get to see Jonathan Brooks, but I'm starting to think they might hold him until after the bye. I need to go look at the schedule, see exactly when the bye week is, but that might be the game plan to do it at that point and then bring him in and kind of evaluate him at that point. But yeah, we're in evaluation mode, guys. Like it's still going to be competitive football, I'm pretty sure, especially these division games against Atlanta and New Orleans and Tampa. They'll get them hyped for those games. The offense still has enough to be competitive. We may just have a lot of shootouts because of the way the defense is or whatnot. Can the Panthers score 20 a week and be in these games? And hopefully the defense has enough to kind of hold these teams to 20, 19, 17.
I will say, as heavy as an offense the Falcons do have, like, yeah, we're gonna have some struggles there. Kirk Cousins coming off of a game of throwing for 509 yards. You can't ignore that, right? You can't ignore it. But you can kind of figure out a way to at least get a turnover or two. He's a guy that can give you one of those types of games. I don't care who you are. But on offense, that linebacker core, who's the Falcons number 0? Carter?
Yeah, I think so.
The
dude from
edge rusher.
Yeah.
He strikes me as a guy that we can run on. I don't know, like I see the defense as some as an opponent that we can actually, contain. We can get some movement. Well, we got movement last week at the offensive line, right at the trenches. So I'm not worried about being able to run the ball. It's just we may want to call it more often, be more methodical in that process. But I think we can definitely take some shots and connect on these guys in the secondary.
Let's go ahead and get into. I thought we were going to get a chance to get Schuyler in here before we were out, but we're running up against it. Panthers Falcons Sunday, October 13th, Bank of America Stadium at Fox. Oh, I think it's on Fox. The Falcons are a 5.5 point betting favorite over the Panthers. Really, only 5.5 points. That's interesting. The over/under point total set at 48.5 points. What do you think we need to do to stop Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday? It is a home game. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of when we need to talk about beating the Falcons on Sunday, Stu?
Be healthy. No, but no, I'll say we have to get pressure on Kirk Cousins. We have to make it, to where he feels, a threat of some sort. He can't just be back there comfortable throughout the whole game because that would just be Caleb Williams 5.0, right? So pressure on the quarterback, and I think the secondary, just being stingy. I think whatever, because they have a good receiving core. London, the guy that came in, I can't think of his name right now, that scored the game-winning touchdown against the Buccaneers this past week. You got to figure out ways to become opportunistic on defense, take chances. We want to play prevent or whatever, but have that mentality. I mean, J.C. Horn, he's a leader by example, and I love the way he goes out every game and has that nature about him that I'm trying to compete. I'm trying to be a game changer. I'm trying to change the game, and rise to that opportunity. So I think defensively, just pressure the quarterback, and just Trevin Wallace go get 15 more tackles.
They're gonna have to get pressure from somewhere. It doesn't look like Javion Clem's gonna play on Sunday, and he hadn't been able to really get a lot of pressure on his own because there's nobody on the other side to really pull it away from him.
So you got to figure out a way to get the blitz packages, from the secondary a little bit, just to kind of scheme some things up.
Yeah, because Kirk Cousins isn't exactly the most mobile quarterback, so you can kind of try to get him in some situations. He's very accurate though; he's always has been, especially in the regular season. So I mean. Atlanta is an interesting team. I feel like I have the same key to the game for every game going in, that we need to get on top early. We're not a team that can play from behind. We're just too banged up. We don't have enough bodies to really do that. We just don't have enough to do that. So it's crucial for us our first possession to score a touchdown. Like the game that we won versus the Raiders, we set the tone by going down, opening drive, and scoring a touchdown. And it kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. And we were able to neutralize a lot of their key players. And I don't think we got a chance to do that the previous 2 weeks. So especially with the skill position players they have on offense, you kind of want to keep Atlanta's offense off the field, in my opinion. So run the ball. You got a dog in Chuba Hubbard that you've identified in all this scrum of injuries or whatnot. He's healthy. He's active. You got 4/5 of your offensive line. Run the ball, man. Run the ball. Like, I understand it's a throwing league and we need to throw it, and we will have situations where we need to do that. But I want a 30, 35 carry, just hold time of possession, just muck the game down, kind of just keep Atlanta off the field type of game, and just let Chuba eat. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, he's really the bright spot.
The worst thing that could happen is if he gets 20 carries for $180.
Derrick Henry. Talking Derrick Henry at that point, like, let me brust off the 70-yard run real quick. Let's just
looking at it all. I mean, 20 carries, 5 point something yards per carry.
Right, exactly. Give it to Chuba. Like, look at your stats, look at your box scores past couple weeks. Like, who's the dude that's been performing no matter where we are, who we're playing, what? It's Chuba. Let's design something around getting Chuba going. And then we'll build off of that. We'll build play action off of them being nervous about Chuba. Like, let's do that. And let's give our defense a break too, because honestly, a lot of it, the defense, especially this past Sunday, they were out there all day. So that adds on to it as well.
All day
long. And like, they get tired.
They were definitely gassed. I tweeted something about the drive. They had like a 12-play drive. And I'm like, oof, I know that defense got to be gassed.
And plus, it's for some reason it's October and it's 80 degrees outside. So like it's warm. It's warm and they're out there for like all time.
It's different when you're playing a mobile quarterback, when you're having to chase him for those, for a lot of like a fourth of those plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you think you have a sack? Oh no, I got to chase him.
Right. Yeah. That's demoralizing. But like I said, that Caleb Williams play where 2-3 guys had a chance to tackle him, and then he still completes it for like a first down and 15 yards down the field. That was kind of super demoralizing there. Oh, actually, before we get out of here, I do believe Schuyler Callihan just popped up in the green room. Let me get him situated. We'll get his thoughts before we get out of here on the state of the Panthers. He might have some updates on injuries too, coming from Bleav from yesterday. I'm just waiting for his camera to log him in and get him situated. But yeah, for me, that's personally it. Get Chuba going, get a lead early. You're at home. I noticed when we were at home against Cincinnati, the thing that I always complain about is the visiting fans coming in and their colors, or whatever. There was a lot of orange in the stands during that game. I really don't want to see a lot of Falcon, especially for a division opponent. I don't see a lot of Falcon fans in the stands. Still come out and support this team. Like they're still playing for you. Like it's not like they've given up on the season. They're just trying to figure stuff out. And to Stu's point, they got tape they got to put out there. I keep seeing this whole let's tank for Shedeur Sanders, let's tank for Travis Hunter. I'm like, NFL players don't tank, man. They don't tank.
And what is this narrative of, oh, all right, we need another quarter. We got to go draft a quarterback. Haven't we not learned about how hard it is to get a quarterback as a rookie into a system to perform at an elite level of expectations, right? This year, it's quarterback, Jaden Daniels out the gate. Caleb Williams had a good game against us. It's going to be, we need to see him stack it, right? He's been getting better throughout the season, but we want to see him stack on top of last week to be able to, categorize him as, okay, this is a draft pick that is making an immediate impact. Last year was CJ Stroud, right? The year before that, I don't even know who it was. It might have been nobody.
Yeah, I think it was nobody. That was the Malik Willis. That crew. That it was only like Kenny Pickett. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody really came out of that crew, but yeah.
And so, so like the thought of a rookie quarterback is going to come and save your organization. We have to get away from that, and hopefully we'll see this offseason and draft leading up to the draft. So right now, I can't even tell you a quarterback that's worthy of being talked about in the draft next year. Right now,
yeah, because Shedeur is one of the names that pops up. To be honest, I would want Travis Hunter before any of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, like right now, I feel like we should be thinking to ourselves, okay, how do we keep Andy Dalton?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a football team that doesn't have a quarterback, how do you get yourself an Andy Dalton?
Yeah.
Okay. Because how do you get yourself a Joe Flacco? Right. These guys,
Joe Flacco,
have proven to be able to throw the ball. It's just that, they were faces of organizations got stale and they had to make certain moves and departures. Didn't mean they couldn't play. It just meant that their situation was, got tapped out with that specific team or whatnot. And so, I think we should really shift to this thought process of, if you're going to draft a guy, make sure you have a veteran quarterback that's there that can actually, alleviate any pressures as far as you having to start a rookie quarterback if he's not ready and available.
Coming in from the backside of the party, Schuyler Callihan, super busy right now. Before we get out of here, I wanted to get him on so he can give his opinions on what you saw Sunday and your thoughts on this upcoming Sunday, Panthers and Falcons. We went through the injury report at the very beginning of the episode, and that's the name of the episode, the one with even more injuries. So we know the defense is a shell of what we thought it was going to be week one. I don't even know how many starters are left. I think we went into Sunday with like 4 starters from the beginning, from week one to that game. And then we ended up losing even more soldiers throughout the game. Jadeveon Clowney has a shoulder. They haven't ruled him out for Sunday yet, have they?
No, I think we should have an injury report here in probably 4 or so hours. So we'll kind of get some more clarity there and on some other guys. But yeah, I mean, that's a big loss to Core, but I'm sure you guys talked about it. But
yeah, we broke that earlier.
I mean, this defense is just decimated, man. Like, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter and Facebook complaining about EJ, and I'm just, you can't blame the guy. Like, he's literally working with spare parts right now. Like there's nothing that he can do right now when you have arguably the best interior defensive lineman in the game out for the year. You have Shaq Thompson, who's your vocal leader, out for the year. You have Josie Jewell, who's out for at least a little while. Like, they are beaten up badly. And that was my fear going into the year. They needed to have those top guys healthy. They haven't. And this is kind of what it is. So I think even though we saw positive signs against the Raiders, you saw it against the Bengals there for a good portion of the game. What you saw Sunday, unfortunately, is kind of probably what we're going to see more so throughout the year. I'm not saying they're going to lose by 26 every week, but it's going to be an uphill battle every single week. They're going to have some things go their way. They're going to have to get fortunate with some turnovers, maybe even some injury luck from the opponents too, because it's going to be an uphill battle. And I'll tell you what, guys, like I really wasn't sold on the Falcons, and I'm still not there just yet. But ever since that season opener, they've been playing good football.
Yeah. I'm 3-2. I thought you were about to pick the Panthers again for like the third straight week.
509.
Oh, you want my pick? You want my pick? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of hard at this point because honestly, we're a victim of the injury report. We have no idea like what the injury report's going to look like, so we don't even know who we're playing with.
Have you already made your picks?
No, we give our keys. We give our keys to what we need to do to win. Mine hasn't changed over the past 3 weeks. We need a lead early. Feed Chuba. Feed him a lot, matter of fact, after the past couple of weeks. Like Chuba is the one dude that's been shining on offense every week, no matter who we've been playing. And last week we got away from him early. A lot of that due to Chicago kind of exploding in the second quarter. But feed Chuba, get a lead early.
That's what I'm gonna go ahead and tell it.
Say it.
I got the Panthers winning.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you why.
Please tell us why.
So it's not all bad on offense, right? There's a couple things that just we didn't pick up as far as pressures, right? Pressure was a whole thing for our passing game on Sunday. And and on the defensive side of the ball, you got to figure out how to stop somebody. You got to figure out how to get pressure on a quarterback, or at least create some confusion in the secondary to where he holds on to the ball for a split second longer, but also get pressure on the quarterback. Because that was one of the things that Caleb Williams did have, right? Which was a lot of time.
Yeah.
So if we can figure out a way to bring that down to 3 seconds on the dot, maybe 2.8 seconds, that would be amazing. But
Kirk's a different animal than Caleb Williams. Kirk Cousins is more of a stationary.
Yeah, so we can get to him. You know what I'm saying? He ain't gonna try to run anywhere. So this can be a game where, because it's a division game, like you might not feel like you have all the tools right now to build a house, right? And you're missing your hammer. You're missing a couple nails. You're missing some lumber. But then all of a sudden, you got guys like Trevin Wallace. And it's like, oh, that's a nail. That is a nail. And then you're like, oh, well, we have Chuba Hubbard. Oh, this is some lumber right here, right? Found some lumber. And you got Andy Dalton. And all you got to do is just buy him some time. Go buy him a hammer. So that way you can nail these nails to the wood and build a house. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, all it takes is for those things to just happen a couple times throughout a game, and it changes the momentum and the narrative.
But it's a shaky foundation right now.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
You have some pieces to work with. You just hope you get some of those pieces back in your tool belt sooner than later.
And for everybody yelling for Bryce Young to take back the starting position and all that sort of stuff, please stop. Like, it just stop. I'm tired of seeing people talking about Bryce Young's feelings and he's broken and all this stuff online. He's fine.
That's my tell you why I'm mad. I know I'm late, but I'll go on a late episode spiel here.
I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
I know I'm a part of the media. I get it, and I know sometimes that a lot of people in the media don't have the best perception in terms of the fans and how they look at us. But I'm against some. Now, I shouldn't say some people, but I would say some of the narratives that get pulled out from the media. We in the media, not necessarily me, because this is why I'm going.
I'm about to say it better not be you. We're gonna fire you. We're gonna fire you if you want people on media.
But this is why the media gets such a bad rep, because it's the second that a game is lost or the second the offense looks bad, this narrative gets created that, oh, you have to have a quarterback change. That's not the issue. If you are watching the game, you can see with your own eyes, even the most entry level football person understands it's not the quarterback. Andy Dalton was not the reason why they lost by 26 on Sunday.
They couldn't get off the field defensively on Sunday. Yeah.
You mean to tell me that you want to put Bryce Young back into this situation now where you have Taylor Moton out, you have Austin Corbett out, Robert Hunt's been dealing with a hip injury. Why would you want him back out there? This is not.
People saw him do that little bootleg thing at the end of the game and throw that pass down the field, and they're like, "See, he still can do it. Like, we need to put him in for the whole game and see what he got." I'm like, yes.
The second Bryce Young struggled back-to-back weeks is when that whole narrative got pushed again. And I'm not saying that's the reason why Dave made the switch to Andy after 2 weeks, but I mean, there was that sense that, like, from the outside that, like, oh, the Panthers are going to make a quarterback change after 2 weeks. Why? And I get you want to keep the locker room engaged, but if that's the way you're thinking about things in the first place, as I mentioned before, you start Andy to begin the season.
Yeah. And I think he wanted to. I really do. It did just come out. I think I saw on Twitter that David Tepper had signed off on this change, but context matters. Like I said it on the show that I felt like they had this conversation before week 1. Like, we want to start Andy Dalton. Like, he needs to be the one to play. And I get further in my mind, I get further and further along thinking that I was right, that they wanted Dalton to start. But for whatever reason, Tepper or whoever was like, well, let's let Bryce start a couple of games and see what we have first before we make that switch. Because when we make that switch, it's going to be permanent for the year. Like, it's going to be Andy for the year. And that's the way Canales has answered those questions. Like, he's very convinced, like, it's Andy. It's Andy. Like, going
you
forward.
Can go back to Bryce later in the year if you're eliminated from the playoffs and there's a handful of games left and you want to see what you have, if anything.
I mean, that's now,
but it's not right now. Like, Andy Dalton has no help right now. His supporting cast did him no favors on Sunday. Offensively, defensively, special teams. The whole thing was a mess.
Yeah.
Not the running game.
Not on the quarterback.
Not the running game.
The running game was off the chain.
They just abandoned it.
Right.
Yeah.
The receivers, tight ends, O-line. The O-line has been good up to this point, but they were not at their best on Sunday. They gave up 3 sacks.
Yeah. There was one where Icky and was it Damian Lewis? I think they both went like this or something, and the guy just came running in. Like, it was just miscommunication on the line, and that's the first time we've seen that in a couple of weeks.
I think you can label the offense a little bit more of a miscommunication.
Yeah.
So I even think a lot of the times where, it didn't seem like Andy and the receivers were connecting on some throws. I think a lot of it had to do on, like, what was the route supposed to be? What was intended here, right? Again, you got some young guys that are still figuring it out, and it does take time, but they are at this point where they can't allow themselves to shoot. They can't allow opportunities to pass by shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to communication errors or being on the same page. And so maybe this is a game where, that's what I'm saying, the offense has an opportunity to shed some light on what they do well. The Atlanta Falcons aren't the best defensive team. They have a lot of holes that you can poke at. And so, I mean, obviously, I'd steer away from Bates in the secondary. But
don't throw towards him. Yeah,
it's probably the best player on defense, if you ask me. But other than that, I feel like, again, me and Desmond talked earlier, that defensive line isn't all world. I feel like the defensive line we played against Chicago Bears is way better. The linebacker core is definitely way better. So there's going to be lanes for us to pop open, explosive plays in the run game. Continue to get those jet sweeps out there. I'd like to see Jalen Coker be a larger part of this offense. If there's injuries still, I'm excited to see Jalen Coker go out there, because he seems like he's very well prepared to play this game. He lined up in a slot and gave us some really good looks, and catching the ball on the go, getting things, upfield, and getting yards after contact. That's something that I'm pretty sure Andy Dalton loves. So just a nice little dump over the middle, and you get 10 extra yards. Thanks. So
the one other thing I'll say about the whole Bryce situation, or quarterback, whatever, even if you get to the end of the season, you know that Bryce isn't your guy. I still wouldn't take a quarterback next year. And I know this is a whole nother discussion, but
Yeah, we talked about that too.
yeah,
These quarterbacks being drafted first round. Why?
Shadur Sanders
you
or
have to
Carson Beck or whatever. Nah.
just because you're in position to draft one doesn't mean you should. You need to be in position, and what I mean by that is like you need to have the right foundation in place, offensive line. You need to have a defense. You need to have weapons around them. You can't just draft a guy into a bad situation. It just won't work.
And you look at the Washington Commanders, they actually have some pieces. They've had pieces.
Yeah, they've had
pieces.
They've had
over some
Scary
time
Terry
now.
for a while.
Yeah. So
Sam Howell last year at quarterback, and they just basically parachuted in a quarterback. And
yeah, like,
a
hey,
good one.
do this, but do it differently. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up.
Let's just not drop the football anymore. Let's complete everything and let's see what happens.
The roster and the depth first before
Yeah.
you start to get into the quarterbacks.
Yeah,
If
Schuyler,
we had
we
a top
know.
3 pick at this point. I'd run the trade down for extra picks because we need bodies at this point. We need talent. We didn't get a chance to mention it before we get out of here though. But one of our new sponsors is Cherry Bundy. I don't know if you can see.
Oh yeah,
the
get you hydrated, man. Recovery.
I've got one in the refrigerator. Me and my wife were discussing it because neither one of us really care for a cherry flavor, but the benefit
cherry
of this
is good.
Well, I mean, like cherry cough syrup or something like that's fine, but like a drink.
What? Cherry cough syrup?
syrup.
Yeah, cherry cough.
Good Lord, Robitussin?
Yeah, I guess Robitussin. Yeah,
That's disgusting.
cherry cough
Disgusting.
syrup. Y'all act like y'all ain't never had cherry cough syrup before. Like,
Nah, I'm not good on cough syrup.
Not casually, not like.
But listen, have you tried it yet? Have you tried?
I'm
this?
thinking about trying it today because there's
Try it
different.
right now.
It's reduced soreness, increased recovery, contains natural occurring melatonin to help improve sleep.
Bro,
helps
I'm
support
telling
immunity.
you, when you drink that, you're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna drink this every night for dessert.
I'm gonna try. I am gonna try.
Literally,
I'm gonna try
I
some today.
had 3 of them last night.
Really 3?
Yeah, 3.
3 of them? Wow.
How many calories in that thing?
Let's see. This is the
lot.
concentrate. This is the juice concentrate. It's 2.5 ounces. Calorie wise, there's 100 calories.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
says
it's nothing,
it's basically
dog.
40 tart cherries in each pouch.
And it makes you sleep like a baby.
10 of the last 11 Super Bowl champions have used it. Every team playing in Europe or Brazil this year had Cherry Bundy with them. 66 of 67 Power 4 conference football teams are using this, except for Alabama on Saturday, apparently. Just want to throw that in there. And every NCAA football and basketball national champion since 2007 uses this, Cherry Bundy. It's available at Amazon, cherrybundy.com, and at retailers nationwide, including Publix and Kroger. I've got one chilling in the refrigerator. I'm going to put some of this concentrate in here. It says there's basically 40 tart cherries in each pouch. So you can find this. I'm on Amazon to look it up. It was very easy to find. It's great for recovery. So yeah, I am thinking about
That might be more a championship podcast.
Now that that's over, everybody that listened to Desmond just a minute ago, it's delicious. Okay, the cherry juice is a delicious product. If you like fruit and you eat healthy, you will have this product as a dessert. I'm telling you.
It's not. I think people are confusing it in the comment. It's not cough syrup. Like I said, cherry flavored like cough syrup. I didn't mean that.
It ain't
I didn't
like
mean that
cough
it is
syrup.
cough
It
syrup.
is not
No,
like cough syrup in any form or fashion.
no, it's not like cough syrup. No, Stu's not guzzling
It's
3
like
things of cough
juice.
syrup in the evening before he goes to bed.
It's juice.
It's cherry
Like,
juice.
Really, really tasty juice. Like
It's just
all
cherry-
cherry, nothing
cherry.
else but cherry.
Is it like a slushy?
Yeah, ooh, you gave me an idea. Maybe I need to put it in the freezer. Maybe I need to take this cherry bundy and put it in the freezer. Huh?
That actually might taste good. I didn't even think about that because of cherry concentrate. We'll report back on that next week because that might have to report that to Cherry Bundy. Be like, yo, we just figured out the Cherry Bundy slushy. So we'll figure that out too. But it's not cough syrup, guys.
Yeah.
So it's not cough syrup. It's recovery.
We're G-rated.
elixir. It's cherry juice. It's just cherry juice. So go check it out. Panthers and Falcons 1:00 p.m. Oh, actually, no. I think it's an afternoon game. It's a 4:00 game. Don't be confused. When the Fox commercial comes on, they're like, America's game of the week, the Dallas Cowboys versus blah, blah, blah. And then they show that final card. It says, or Panthers versus Falcons. It's like right there in the bottom of it. It's 4:00 or 4:35 or whatever it is, Sunday on Fox. We'll be back next Tuesday to dissect that. The one thing I've learned the past couple of weeks with this particular team, I don't think I'm gonna predict wins or losses with this team because we'll go into a game and I'm like, oh, this is a winnable game, and then it like just the bottom falls out. But then we'll go into a game where I'm like, I don't know. They come out and play fantastic. Like I have no idea how to get a beat on this team based on who they're playing or where they're at or anything of that sort. So I'm not gonna predict a winner. I'm just saying what they need to do to win the game. We'll see if they actually do it.
I'm okay with being wrong if it turns out.
Stu's gonna predict it. So Stu predicts
we are gonna win, and it's gonna be
Careful.
Close. What's the most points we've scored this year? The Raiders?
24-17.
24-17. Okay.
We're gonna win 24-17.
I can actually live with that. Okay. So we'll get off with that. So Stu's prediction. 24-17 with a fast start. Panthers get the victory at home. That's the prediction. We'll just put that as prediction for the pod. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Guys, hit us next Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. live for Schuyler Callihan and for Jonathan Stewart. This is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Panthers podcast on Bleav Podcast Networks. Keep pounding. Bleav. Oh, you know what? We never talked about your hats, Stu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we completely.
This melon hat. Love this hat.
We're an hour and 7 minutes in, but
hey, it's waterproof.
Comfortable fit.
If you're out there on a boat or at a pool or washing dishes and you accidentally drop your hat into the water,
that baby ain't gonna sink.
No,
it ain't gonna sink because it floats and it's water repellent. But mostly when you are outside coaching a football game, for your youth football team or high school, middle school football, whatever you're doing right now, you can wear this hat and you can sweat and it won't ruin your hat. You know how you get them hats?
Get those salt lines.
Yeah. You don't get none of that with this hat right here, man. This is high performance, man.
So
shout out to Melon.
Yeah, you can go to Melon, a new sponsor for Bleav. Go to melon.com. It's spelled MELIN.com. MELIN.com. Put it to the test yourself. It's the world's most durable hat, and I promise we'll read it much, much earlier next week. My hat's not here. Like I got a notification on my phone that it's going to be here on the 25th, and that's tomorrow.
Yeah, man. So. Look, Desmond. And they make hats in all shapes and sizes because Desmond's got a large melon on him.